everyone, and welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem, and today we are jumping back into the March Scrawler box, and we are going to attempt the Scrawler challenge, which is Bionic Being. As discussed in the unboxing, this is miles out of my comfort zone for a couple of reasons. Number one, I never draw anything mechanical. Don't use a lot of geometric shapes. I'm more of a squishy, wishy-washy line kind of person. Also, alcohol markers are not really my bag. I am not adverse to them, but I just don't use them very often. I much prefer pencil and paint. So this is a proper, genuine challenge for me today. And in addition to the markers, of course, we have this lovely Copic fine liner. We've been given a 3B pencil and also this Polycolour rather attractive dark violet pencil too. So we are going to do our best to try and create something. And I know a lot of you under the unboxing had talked about cows, a mechanical cow. I think we're kind of fine for cow stuff just now, and I did have an idea that popped into my head already, and I'm just hoping that I can execute it on paper the way it looks in my mind. Once we're done with this today, I will be putting these markers into the stash shop, so if anybody would like a cost-effective way to try these out, or would just like some grey markers to build up their collection, you can head over to the website. It's here, and there's lots of other goodies there too if you fancy treating yourself to some art supplies. I'm not going to show you my sketch that I did in my sketchbook, because obviously I did some rough sketching. Oh goodness me, I forgot about all the bleed through. Right, okay. So here's our test page, and I'm going to keep this handy because I'll probably need this for reference for the marker colours. I haven't planned out any colours, I just did a preliminary sketch, that's easy to say. So I just want to get right on in there and let's get this idea sketched out. So I'm going to use the pencil that came in the box, which is a 3B. Not ideal for draft sketching, but... So, my idea is for a Mecha-Mogi. And I just thought that was a really nice way to combine the more organic style of drawing that I like to do with, you know, things that are a bit more technical. And one of the first things that kind of popped into my head was the line of action, and it's something that I don't talk about very often. It is a line of movement of whatever it is you're drawing. I'm pretty sure I could explain that better, but if any of you own cats or are familiar with cats, dogs do it too. They have a stretch. It kind of looks like the downward dog position in yoga. So that's the kind of position I want this Mecha-Mogi to be in. So basically that's going to be a bum up in the air, and they're low on their haunches on their front legs. So the line of action is probably going to look something like that. You know, it's going to be this curve, and the head's going to be at this end, and the bottom is going to be up here. This obviously, I want to make it a little bit more interesting, and it wouldn't be a cave drawing unless there was a little bit of humour about it. But I'll leave that to be shown as time goes on. So really what I'm thinking is I want the head here. And I almost kind of want this to be slightly disproportionate, just to give it that sort of nice, you know, sort of almost caricature feel to it. The bum is going to be this big circle, and then there would be a smaller circle here for the front part of the body. And that gives me the body shape. Now I might move this head over a bit. And then we have to think about the leg joints. So if he's pushing back, you know, if he's stretching out his front legs, he's going to be pushing back on his back end. So there's going to be a slight bend in these back legs. I think that needs to start further up, because that's like their hip joint there. And we're just going to have that we're going to really, really exaggerate that. We're going to bring that all the way out. So it'll almost look as if he's got super long legs at the front. Now, see, instantly I can see I need to move that ahead, but that's okay. That's what this stage is for. This did not come in the box. This is just my own kneaded eraser, which is kind of a must for this. I have tried drawing pieces before without an eraser, and it's doable, but I'd rather not. So thinking about the face as well, if he's having this great big stretch, I don't know whether it's a he or she. I'm referring to him as he already. But if he's having this great big stretch, I feel as if his chin would be up in the air slightly. So really I would want the ears to be quite far back. Again, we can deliberate on ear sizes in due course. His head's going to be tipped up, then his nose is going to be quite far up. Yeah, I think we might have to slim him down a little bit, so maybe a little bit on the rotund side. I am known for drawing slightly overweight animals though, and I think it's just a reflection of my good self sometimes. So let's give him some sort of pause here as well. It's all fun and games, right? So I'm going to lighten this up just now. I'm not going to start erasing some of these structure lines, because I'm not sure that that's where they're staying. Okay, so let's slim him down a bit here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm a bit happier with that. I still like the fact that he's got an outrageously long tail. Okay, I just want to change this slightly because he's almost like a 3/4 view here, so I'm just going to move that nose over, and then this area under here. Okay, I'm a bit happier with that. Okay, good. So obviously he's made of metal, so I feel like this might be metal plates. And then he's going to have like a big ball joint there. And then maybe he's got like kind of shock absorbers here, you know, because cats like to jump. So now I have to think about the leg at the back, because they're going to be roughly side by side. And maybe that would be slightly in behind actually. So I want to think about this midsection out, and I want these contours to be quite noticeable. So I think his middle section, I'm thinking like the Slinky dog from Toy Story kind of idea. So maybe there's a panel at the front and the back, just as, you know, where I've actually drawn these circles in, and maybe this section in the middle is you know, sort of like a concertina type. Yeah, so maybe we can have like yeah, I think in this concertina shape. And then we'll round this off a bit as well. We'll see, like he's been put together with like two you know, two sort of ball-shaped pieces of something or other. And then I feel like his front legs should be very, very flexible. Maybe he's almost been made out of you know, like leftover things. You know, maybe he's been flung together like that. And see, I'm actually using the line of action there as the midpoint for these metal sections. And this other leg's going to be coming out from in behind here. Okay, so let's talk about his ears. I kind of want him to have quite big ears. I suppose we better get the curve of his face a bit more substantiated, is that the word? That's a big word. And he's obviously enjoying his stretch, so we want the eyes to be that sort of happy face type thing. So again, his nose I want to be just like a piece of metal. I'm going to turn this slightly just so that I can work on this a bit better. So like a diamond shape there. What we'll do is we'll bring that up to the middle there. Maybe this is like a grill of some description. Hexagonal, 2, 3, 4, yeah, hexagonal piece of metal, who knows. I have to say, just even doing this, see the preciseness of these lines, this is absolutely killing me, because I just want to be like, we'll just make this do this, it'll be fine. But I'm trying my hardest here to stay disciplined, because that's what we need right now. So the handy thing about this is I'm actually using my construction lines too, which is a good thing. Now, obviously, his whiskers are going to be springs, like that goes without saying. So we'll do those in. We'll just do those in the fine liner. That'll be okay. Now, I'm kind of thinking the thing that I'm trying to keep in my head here is I've got this purple pencil, and I think that maybe his tail's a spring as well. That would be good. And this would maybe be a light of some description, and we could make that purple. Maybe that, you know how like dogs wag their tail when they're happy? Maybe Mecha Kitty, when he's happy, his little light tail goes ping, 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 something like that. But now for the most important part, and I'm sure it's going to be the part that you guys are going to enjoy the most, slightly unsavoury conversation, but if you've ever stretched and perhaps relaxed a little bit too much, and perhaps had some flatulence on the go, so that happens sometimes. Maybe Mecha Moggy here's got his own problems, and I really wanted to incorporate a cat flap. So when he's happy, I think that should be up a bit actually. When he's happy and he stretches like this, his cat flap opens and he spits out nuts and bolts. Now, please do not ask me where that idea came from, but yeah. Now, I'm just trying to think about the dimensions and the angle of this, because it's going to be more or less flat actually. So yeah, we'll get some nails and screws and stuff coming out here. The other thought I've just had as well is inside his ears we could make that mesh. We could do a wee bit hatching in there. Nice little technique to add in. Apologies if you can hear the weather outside, it is extremely windy here. I'm hoping the mic doesn't pick most of that up, though should be alright. Right, okay, and I think for the purposes of this, I'm going to put the fine liner down first, and then I can get rid of all the graphite because it's going to get pretty smudgy. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then we can get to work with our markers. We have this advantage with this as well because this pen is Copic proof, it's alcohol marker proof, so we don't need to worry about bleeding by putting down our line work first, which is great. So I feel like his whiskers would be coming out this, like it's like almost like a barrel, like this. So this sort of stone colour here, I think would be quite good for his concertina bits. So this little bit under his neck and in here. And what we can do is we can use the layering to our advantage here, you know, to give it that sort of concertina look. So if we go back over this section, yeah, that's kind of giving me the effect that I was hoping for. So I'm just thinking about base colour here, I'm not actually thinking about light and shade. Because we have all these greys, we can put shadows in over the top of this. So this is just really trying to get the, you know, the basis of the colours down. Okay, like thinking about this as a circular shape. We've got this panel here. I'm going to try this with the chisel tip. Build up some layers here. I do actually want the texture of the marker to show a little bit though, so I'm not going to be too careful. The elephant grey, this sort of bluish grey here, that's going to be my shadow colour, so I'm keeping that pen out of the way just now. There was the one that's the sort of sepia colour, yeah, there's this one here, which I'm not sure I'm going to do anything with, so I'm going to pop that off to the side as well. Because I'm not really thinking these aren't going to blend that well together because, oh no, I didn't need to do that at all. Okay, so I'm back to the lightest of what I'm calling the true greys, which is 985 is the marker colour. And I'm going to use this as a base layer here. So I'm going over the rivets as well because again I'm going to do a bit more work on them. I'm trying to take my time with this chisel tip. Too many nooks and crannies, or fiddly bits as we like to say. It's a very British thing apparently, fiddly bits. So I think the trick, and you know, I say this, I'm not saying this as someone who knows what they're talking about, but I think when you're working on things like this, it is better to think section by section, you know, as if they are individual components, which they would have been before they turned into things like cats that poop nuts and bolts, you know. This part here, I think naturally is just going to be darker. This looks so dark. I don't know if I like it or not. I'll do a bit of blending with it, but you know. In all fairness, these seem to be blending quite well. I don't think I can complain really. And then his flap's going to be fairly pale just on the basis that it's away from the body and it's facing upwards. Oh, I feel as if he's missing a loop on his tail there. I feel that should be joining on like down in there. Yeah, that's better. I'm imagining, well, there's going to be some light off of here. So there's going to be a highlight of some description going on here. Now here's an interesting point, just as we're going along, this is purely practical. If you have both ends off your marker, there's actually no way of discerning which marker it is, obviously because the tips are all grey. Thankfully the other one that I've got open, I do have an end on it, so by process of elimination I can figure out which pens are which and which caps belong to which, but that's just something to note because there's nothing on the barrel to tell you what the colour is. Nearly had a disaster there, that could have been a bit of a nightmare. I really don't know which way I should be sweeping this marker here, but it's kind of annoying me. Like I feel like it, because this is a sphere essentially, so you know we do want a little bit of that roundness shown, but how much I don't know. I think part of this as well is just waiting to see how the alcohol dries, because I think a lot of the time it does dry slightly lighter than perhaps one would expect. So let's grab our purple pencil. It's actually a really nice shade of purple. I don't know why that makes me chuckle so much, I really don't. Yeah, so we're going to have a little bit of maybe a purple reflection off of here. So I'm going to be very gentle, and I'm just going to put a little tickle of that in there. I've decided I'm going to pop a little bit of purple in here, but just as an accent, so I'm pressing quite hard there. And the precision of this finer tip's great for this. So this leg that's in behind, we want to build up the layers, because although it's this obviously going to be made of the same metal as the front one, it's in behind, so we want it to be a little bit darker. And I'm going to use this elephant grey, which is the same I'm going to use as my shadow colour, and I'm just going to use that to get some of these darker bits in there. And again, I feel like these sort of hoof type feet that he's got, I think they would be quite shiny. Like I feel they would have a bit of shine on them. This is, see, if I was actually drawing like something like this of my own accord, I would probably colour it all in and then use white to get some really crisp highlights. Because again, if you've got a direct light source and something shiny, the highlights tend to be quite well defined, and I think that obviously we can use the white of the paper here, this isn't an issue, but I think if I was doing it for myself I would prefer that method. So I'm just blending this out with my lightest grey, which was 985, and I'm finding that's quite handy for this sort of thing, so that's good. I don't want a really shiny smooth finish because I feel like, as I said, like he's been made up of parts that have been lying about, so I don't feel that everything would maybe necessarily be all shiny and new. Okay, so let's do the same again. I'm going to sweep a bit of... I was going to do it with the chisel tip, but because I've got my rivets in the way, it's causing an issue. In all of this as well, you know, obviously got the markers here and stuff. In my head, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I've got a 3B pencil, I'll just, you know, I'll tidy up the shading with the 3B pencil, so I'm actually just reverting to form, which I'm not surprised about, honestly. I don't know, I find the marker thing really, really tedious, which sounds stupid when you think about the fact that I use coloured pencil and it takes forever to do anything in coloured pencil, but I just find it a lot easier than what's going on here. I feel, do you know what it is? I feel restricted. That's how I feel. I feel restricted because you don't have the same, like when you're working with pencil, you have pressure control, you have layering ability, and you don't have this urgency to have to work quickly. So that's probably the most accurate, I was going to say excuse. I think that's the most accurate set of reasons that I've come up with thus far as to why I'm not really a fan of markers. I've picked up entirely the wrong marker here, and that is really annoying. The other thing as well is if I do have like a spasmodic episode, easy for me to say, with my hand, it's much easier to fix if it's in pencil than if it's in ink, and that's another reason I don't use ink very often. Watercolour as well, and well, paint in general, you can paint over things, or with watercolour you can kind of mop it up, you know, if my hand just spasms all of a sudden and gives me a little bit of abstract going on. And again, that's one of the reasons I tend to steer clear of ink full stop, and you will know that I generally don't use a lot of ink just because. And again, not really sure what I'm doing with these ears, if I'm honest. I think I might draw the mesh in with fine liner. Right, so let's do his nose. That's better. See, I feel better already just having a pencil in my hand. Press really hard down in there. That's the facets. There we go. I think with this part here, I'm going to go back to the stone colours, or the French greys as I like to call them, grey with a little bit of brown in them, that we've used in here. I think that would be a nice balance. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, and we'll let that dry, and then we shall put in our mesh just in the fine liner on the top. Okay, out of the two things that make this not within my wheelhouse as discussed, I'm enjoying the mechanical aspect a lot more than the marker aspect. And yeah, I just am. And I'm totally going to finish this off with this 3B pencil. I really am. Alright, anyway, let's not talk about that just now. Let's, first of all, I need to finish off his little muzzle bit here. And I think I'm going to put a couple of layers on that. Because again, thinking about the layers, bear in mind we can get this going on. So that's what I would like to do. I'm going to grab this fine liner here and just get his mesh. I do like a bit of hatching every now and then. Okay, so now I've got all the base colours in. There are a couple of things that I want to add in. The first thing is not to get all my markers confused, because that would be really helpful. This sepia colour I'm just going to use as a little bit of cast shadow here, and it's just to ground our Mega-Mecha-Marker-Mission. Next thing I want to talk about is some slightly heavier shadows. This is all very nice and pretty, but it's a bit delicate, and the way that we're going to do that is just be a little bit more dramatic with this darkest colour I've got, which is 986. This was I called it the elephant grey, this one with the blue in it, and there's going to be a bit of a cast shadow here, and I just feel like this is going to be so much darker around here as well. And just add like a bit more dimension here. See, again, we're putting in these shadows. If I had a pencil, if I was doing it in coloured pencil, I would make them a little bit more delicate and precise. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the use of line width. And the featured artist in the Scrawlrchallenge actually demonstrates this perfectly. If you look at his drawing, there are different line widths within the whole piece, so you can see there's thicker lines like an outline, and then there's these much finer lines and then broken lines in between, and all this does is make it much more interesting, much more dynamic. Now obviously when I'm doing an outline, I have to be incredibly careful because of my dodgy hand, and I will always do this when I'm creating anything. I will always do an outline first in just one thickness, and then after that I can go back. So we can use our fine liner, and I do this anyway again because it helps me correct any wobbles. If I just go back over it and make the line a little bit thicker, it gives me personally a bit more room for manoeuvre. Also really helpful if you're just starting out with fine liners and you're maybe not the most confident. So again, I want to think about this, this line of action which came down through here. So to accent that, I want to have a heavier outline in consistent places, and the first part is underneath his bottom here, because there's nothing to say that you have to have uniform lines on your artwork. And when I want to get back, I'm just tapering it in as I come round there, so I'm not taking the whole line width with me. And maybe his feet as well. And we can maybe pick out these features as well. Now that makes me want to do his little tail beacon as well. Yeah, that feels better already. It just feels less sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say robotic, but it's less clumsy, it feels less clunky. I feel it's a little bit more dynamic without really going for this, like very cartoon style here. What I'm trying to say is I feel as if I'm staying true to my own style, but just, making it a bit more dynamic. And again, another place I really want to do this thicker line idea is down here. I feel like it needs to be a thing down here. Yeah, these markers are terrible for identifying colours. I'm not enjoying this at all. I don't think that their identification system is very good. Because one false move, can lead to problems. Thankfully, we've been okay. We've managed to rectify them. I was kind of hoping that this would be a lot darker looking down here. Okay, I'm much happier with it now that I've altered the line widths a little bit, and I think he's coming to life quite nicely. The last thing I want to do, and you guys know that this is the part I've been looking forward to all along, is I'm going to take this 3B pencil because it's my favourite thing in the box. And we are just going to do a little bit of pencil work on top of what's going on, just to give him some texture. So I did say that I think maybe he's like a junkyard mecha-moggy. I do not think he's a prototype made out of shiny new things. So I think he might be a bit pitted and battered in places. Do you know what it is? I just like texture, and it's probably why I don't draw a lot of, like mecha type or like tech type things. I like organic shapes and forms, and yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to work my way around here. Now, it doesn't have to be a lot. There's enough. There's a little bit of texture in this paper, and it's just enough. Yeah, see, that's made his bum look a bit more grubby already. That's the kind of feel that I was hoping for. That's what I wanted. And again here, like, just this shadow part, it's so much easier to make a subtle shadow with a graphite pencil than it is with marker. I'm loving the texture of this pencil going down over the top of the marker. Okay, so far so good. So you can see the difference that graphite's making. If you look at these two sections here compared to the head, it just gives the piece just that little extra something that takes it being from something that's quite flat, although it's cute, to, okay, it looks a bit more like an object that moves. So again, I'm just going to I'm not going to do as much on his face because I feel like whatever I've decided the light source is apart from his tail seems to be coming like sort of from up the top here. So I'm going to focus quite heavily on this bottom section of what's his chin, I suppose. And we'll get some texture in there. But the top half of his head here I want to leave largely untouched. I think I might be done. I had a stage in the middle there before I started on the line widths and the pencil where I was really beginning to not like this. And the reason for that was because I'm really in love with the original sketch that I did, and that's always a problem for me. I get very attached and very fixated to my first idea, and it's very difficult for me to push it away. I'm glad I persevered and changed the design because I'm actually quite happy with how this has turned out in the end up. So I'm just going to sign this here. I am going to show you the original sketch though, because he is adorable. There was first one, that was Mecha Kitty. Because I really like this idea of having a fat metal cat. So you can see how I've changed the design between the sketch and the finished article, because this obviously lends itself much better to the pose I was looking for, because if he'd basically been rugby ball shaped, it'd be very difficult to see that, you know, that line of action that I was talking about here. So that's why I changed the design, but he just looks as if he's having a poop though, whereas this one looks as if he's having a stretch and he's pooped out his nuts and bolts by accident. But I will let you be the judge of that. On the whole, I have enjoyed the box. I do find these markers frustrating, and it's not because they're alcohol markers. I mean these markers in particular. I don't like the square barrels. The ends aren't great for colour matching, for colour identification, and numbers. I mean, like when it comes to stuff like this, I don't like numbers. I like names. Give me names. On the whole though, to actually use, they work very well with this paper and they seem to be quite nice. So nothing against the actual markers for the build quality, just back to that fact it's not a preference of mine. As I said, I'm going to put these in the stash shop because I will not make use of them. So if you want to grab yourself a very reasonably priced bargain, and this is how much they've been used, head over to the website, you can get them there. The Copic multiliners are really reliable. I like these very much. Again, I've got quite a few of these, and I think I'm due to put up another pile of fine liners on the stash shop, so you can keep your eye out for that. So overall, surprisingly, weirdly, I've really enjoyed this box. I've really enjoyed doing the challenge. I think our little Mecha-Moggies turned out fairly well. I hope you agree. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, particularly if you are someone that draws robots. I'd love to hear what you think. But that's it for today, so I shall see you back in the cave on Thursday for another video. So thanks for coming along, everyone. Stay safe, take care of each other. Bye-bye for now.